The coffee mug in Eliza's hand felt wrong. Not just different, wrong. The deep crimson glaze, the faint chip on the rim. It had been hers for years. But now, the color seemed off, too saturated, too perfect. She blinked. The mug was green. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked again, harder. Red. The air in the apartment thickened, pressing against her chest. The heater's low hum stuttered, the light outside shifted, and for a fraction of a second, the world itself seemed to flicker. Her hands trembled as she set the mug down, trying to convince herself it was just exhaustion. Just a trick of the light. But when she turned toward her bookshelf, the photograph of her and Harper from college had changed. Harper had always been laughing in that picture, her face half turned toward Eliza, the late afternoon sun making her short black hair glow. But now, Harper stood alone. Her expression was sharper, thinner, her dark eyes vacant. And where the stack of books had been beside Eliza, there was now only an empty space. Eliza felt a cold chill. She looked at the photo again. Small details were vanishing. The trees in the background were now just black sticks. The sunny sky was turning gray. It was as if someone was rubbing out her life with a giant eraser. A smear of red blurred the corner of the frame. Eliza's stomach churned. She reached out with trembling fingers, tracing the glass as if touching it could restore what was lost. The surface was warm. Too warm. It felt like touching a hot stove. She pulled her hand back, but her fingertips were stained with red ink that wasn't there a second ago. Her reflection in the black monitor caught her attention. She turned slowly. Her own face stared back, hollow-eyed and pale, but there was something off. The angles of her face were subtly wrong, her eyes a fraction too wide, her lips parted as if mid-whisper. The reflection wasn't moving when she moved. It was like watching a video of herself that was playing a few seconds late. And then her reflection blinked. She hadn't. The reflection tilted its head and pointed toward the door. A sharp knock at the door shattered the silence. She flinched, spinning toward the sound. Her pulse pounded. No one ever came to her apartment. Not unannounced. Eliza. Her breath caught. The voice was familiar. Cold. It sounded like it was coming from inside her own head and from behind the door at the same time. She stepped toward the door, her skin prickling. The air smelled different now, thick with something floral, something sickly sweet. Lavender. It was the smell of old dried flowers in a basement. It was too strong, making her eyes water. Eliza. The knock came again, more insistent. Thump. 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 The door started to rattle in its frame, even though there was no wind. Her fingers hovered over the handle. The peephole was black, an abyss of nothingness. She didn't dare look through it. She felt that if she looked, she would see something that would make her forget her own name. She swallowed hard. Who is it? Silence. Only the heavy smell of lavender remained. Her phone buzzed violently on the desk. It danced across the wood, vibrating so hard it nearly fell off. The screen glowed, "Mom." Her mother's voice was sharp, cutting through the static. "Eliza. You need to come home." Her stomach twisted. Why? A pause. The static on the line thickened. It sounded like waves crashing on rocks far away. Then, your father's things. We need to sort through them. They are moving, Eliza. They don't want to stay in the boxes. The air in her apartment tightened. She turned back toward the black monitor. Her reflection was still watching. And this time, it was smiling. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had finally caught its prey. The house loomed against the storm-gray sky, its wooden frame warped by time and salt air. The moment Eliza stepped out of the car, the scent of lavender hit her like a wave. Stronger than before. Lingering. It felt like the purple flowers were growing inside her nose, choking her. Her mother met her at the door, thinner than she remembered, her sharp eyes scanning Eliza as if looking for something hidden under her skin. Her mother's hands were stained with that same red ink. "You're late." No greeting. No warmth. Eliza stepped inside, the familiar scent of damp wood wrapping around her. The house was too still, like it was listening. The walls, once pale blue, seemed darker, the corners of the room stretching unnaturally high, making her feel like a tiny ant in a giant box. She hesitated before climbing the stairs to her childhood room. The wooden steps groaned under her weight. Creak. Snap. Each creak felt deliberate, purposeful, like the house was counting her steps. Her door was closed. It hadn't been before. She remembered leaving it open for years. She pushed it open. Inside, the room was just as she left it. Her old toys, her bed, her books. But the air was freezing. The mirror on the far wall was shattered, its jagged edges catching the dim light. Her reflection stared back in 100 fragmented pieces. In one piece she saw her eye, in another, her mouth, in another, just a dark shadow. Then, in the largest shard, she saw something else. A figure. Standing right behind her. It was wearing her clothes, but its skin looked like gray paper. Eliza. She spun, but the room was empty. The whisper curled through the air, slipping between the cracks of the walls, seeping into her bones. A memory surfaced, fingers. Number 2, hospital. Horror. The tires of Dr. Greta Lang's car crunched over the gravel road, the sound swallowed by the heavy silence pressing from the overcast sky. The hospital loomed ahead, its jagged silhouette twisting subtly when viewed from the corner of her eye. Vines and dark moss clung to the gray stone, an eerie relic of a forgotten era. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her knuckles pale as bone. As she stepped out, the air hit her, a damp, metallic chill clinging to her skin. A faint scent of antiseptic drifted from the entrance, undercut by something else. Rotting. It smelled like old, wet wood and something even worse. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed weakly, casting a sickly glow over peeling wallpaper. The floor was sticky, and every step she took made a loud squelch sound. The receptionist barely looked up. His eyes flicked past her, as if expecting someone else, someone who wasn't there. "Dr. Calloway is waiting in the central ward," he said. His voice was flat and dry. "Turn right, then left." "Anne." "I'd avoid the mirrored corridor." Greta frowned. "Why?" He didn't answer. He just went back to writing in a book that looked like it was made of old, yellow skin. The hallway stretched unervingly long, walls lined with tarnished mirrors. Greta hesitated, catching a glimpse of her reflection. Something about it felt delayed. It was as if her image was a second behind her movements. When she turned her head fully, the mirrors reflected only what they should. A trick of the light, surely. She quickened her pace, but the sound of her footsteps seemed to come from inside the walls. The central ward was vast, thick with the hum of machines and muttered whispers. Greta's eyes landed on a young woman, Karina. Barely 20, her pale skin marred by intricate spiraling scars beneath bandages. The scars looked like they were moving, slowly turning like the hands of a clock. "She's been like this since she arrived," said Nurse Lena Torres. "She mutters about a house, about fire. The spirals appear when she speaks of it." Greta traced the edge of one spiral with gloved fingers. The raised flesh was too perfect, too deliberate, like something etched from within. It felt hot, like a fresh burn. Karina stirred, lips trembling. "The walls, the fire, left me there, it's still burning." A chill crawled up Greta's spine. She pulled back quickly, masking her unease. "She needs to be transferred to the experimental wing. We need to suppress the memory trigger." Lena's gaze darkened. "Are you sure that's wise? The last doctor who went there didn't come back the same." "I'm here to find answers." And she would. No matter the cost. The experimental wing was colder than expected, its sterile walls bearing faint spirals she hadn't noticed before. They were carved into the bricks, hidden under the white paint. She brushed her fingers over one absent-mindedly and shuddered. It felt like a small electric shock. Irrational, she told herself. Her small office was cluttered with patient files, but her mind returned to Karina's words. The house. The fire. Greta's own memories wavered in response, childhood glimpses of smoke, heat, a scream echoing too clearly. She remembered a red door. She remembered a box of matches. A knock jolted her. Lena stood in the doorway, tense. "Karina's awake. She's asking for you. She says that the master of the house is coming." Greta followed her into the ward. The lights were flickering faster now, making everyone look like jumping shadows. Karina sat upright, her gaze sharp. Too knowing. Her eyes weren't blue anymore, they were a dull, smoky gray. "You're the doctor," she whispered. "Are you here to take it away?" Greta hesitated. "Take what away?" Karina's fingers clawed at the sheets, tearing the fabric. "The house. The walls. It won't let me go. It needs more rooms, Dr. Lang. It builds the rooms out of people." Greta leaned closer. "Describe the house. What do you see?" Karina gasped. Her body stiffened, eyes rolling back until only the whites showed. The spirals on her arms darkened, glowing faintly with a deep, angry orange light. Then she whispered, "It's inside you too. You brought the matches." The monitors shrieked. Karina convulsed. Lena shouted for help, but Greta barely heard her over the sudden rush of whispers, not from Karina, but from the walls. The walls were breathing. The wallpaper was bubbling like skin in a fire. Later, in her office, Greta traced the patterns in Karina's scans. The spirals weren't random, they were structured. They looked like maps. Like a blueprint for a building that shouldn't exist. Language. A knock startled her. She turned, but the doorway was empty. Only the smell of smoke remained. Then the lights flickered, and in the mirror across the room, her reflection didn't move. Her breath stalled. Slowly, she stepped closer. The mirrored version of herself remained frozen, its face expressionless. Wrong. It was holding a coffee mug, a crimson one with a chip on the rim. The whispers in the walls grew louder, turning into a roar of 1,000 voices. Then, her reflection smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide. Too knowing. Its teeth looked like jagged pieces of broken mirror. The spirals on its skin pulsed, shifting and growing like living scars, spreading up its neck and toward its eyes. Greta stumbled back, crashing into her desk. When she looked again, her reflection was normal. Haggard, exhausted. Herself. But the whispers didn't stop. They were calling her name. She yanked up her sleeve. There, on her forearm, the first traces of a spiral had begun to emerge. It was bright red and it burned. The realization slammed into her. The hospital wasn't studying the spirals. The hospital was a factory. It was using the patients to grow the house. The next morning, Greta confronted Dr. Calloway. He was sitting in the dark, his skin covered in hundreds of tiny, glowing spirals. "You knew." He sighed. "The body remembers, Dr. Lang. Trauma leaves imprints, on flesh, on walls, on places like this. We are just the architects." Greta shook her head. "That doesn't explain why I have them. I just got here." Calloway's gaze darkened. He pointed to a photo on his desk. It was a photo of the hospital from 50 years ago. There, standing in the window, was Greta. "Because the hospital chose you a long time ago. You've always been here." The walls pulsed faintly, the stone turning soft like muscle. The spirals beneath her skin burned like fire. And Greta realized, with horrifying certainty, that she was never meant to leave. She wasn't the doctor. She was the next room.